recording this session. And you will be able to find this session later on in our World Usability Day speaker series. So I would just like to welcome everyone to another World Usability Day speaker series. And it's just wonderful to see the community that we are developing through World Usability Day and some of our other activities. And before I announce our speaker, I just want to thank everyone who is on our team. Our project manager was here a minute ago, Rashmi. And we have a great crew behind us. I would also like to introduce, he just came on, the youngest intern we've ever had at World Usability Day, but one of the most excited and passionate. So please, everyone, say hi in the chat. You can to Ankit Durba, and Ankit, you could just say hi to everyone.
Hello.
So we've been certainly happy to have him on board, and it's a wonderful coincidence because some of what Ria will be talking about, you will see, is very relevant to this funny coincidence that we have a younger intern. So the other thing I want to say before I turn it over to everyone is we are looking for more events in Africa and India. Just so happens there's a lot of you guys here. I will put my email in the chat. You guys can feel free to write to me if you're interested. I'm very, very eager to have more events in Africa and India, so please do write to me. And without further ado, I will now turn it over to Ria, who is, you'll introduce yourself in more detail. I've just gotten to know you recently, but the work is pretty powerful work. And it's very important work, and I think I'll let it speak for itself. So with that, I will turn it over to Ria. You can take it from here.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And first of all, before I start, I would like to thank World Usability Day and Solve by Design for inviting me for this speaker series. So happy to contribute. And hi, everyone. I'm Ria Toser, and I lead CX Intelligence and Incubation UX at SAP. For me, it's over 2 decades now. I'm in design and started my career as a multidisciplinary designer and settled into user-centered design for over 20 years now, playing different roles. As I progressed as a designer, got matured into design, I always look for an opportunity, right, to take my design skills and my role as a designer to the next level. And that's the reason I extend my passion for design by mentoring young designers in a global design community and teaching design thinking to the young kids like Ankit here. That's the target audience I focus on because I feel that's our future. So we better influence them in a better way and give them something good that we have. So today my focus is going to be talking about, so the theme is our health, right? So I'm going to be talking about how design helped me give some positivity to keep a good mental health for others and as well as me. So I will be sharing few case studies with you today. How I use my design skills as well as a designer, how I contributed to community around solving some of the problems in this challenging time. And so looking at challenges, there are so many. I think to name few, I'm just adding few challenges here, but with the recent pandemic, I think this is one-time event when everyone had the same feeling, everyone faced the same issues. So everyone could relate to each other, like how everyone must be going through and what they must be feeling. Apart from that, there are so many other challenges we all are facing, like climate change and healthcare related issues. In terms of education, the quality education, how can we provide? So many things to help on, right? And I guess one thing which happened, which was really good in this pandemic is people united to help each other. And I think that's one thing which happened very naturally. I guess it's good part of this pandemic, the way I look at it, something good happened during that time. And the result of that is when this happened in March 2020, I decided to do something to help schools around me in my school district. So the reason for that is school was struggling actually to get into the digital infrastructure because they were not used to that kind of environment and the need, right? So I decided to do a fundraiser using my time because it was stay-at-home orders. We were not going out, not meeting anyone. So that was the perfect time to do something more productive. And I decided to do a workshop for the kids which are age of Ankit, so middle school and high schoolers. And this is, I think, this was the quote which I always motivates me. There are so many challenges as we saw. Obviously, we can't deal with everything, we can't help for everything, but then if we can help someone, and if this chain can continue, I think we can prepare and we can build a very good help for a larger audience. So this was my motivation. As you must have read about the results or research, volunteering has increased quite a lot during last 2-3 years. Another reason for that also is we could do quite a lot of volunteering online because obviously we were not meeting people, so everything shifted to digital format. I think many people use that for the benefit where from sitting at home, you can actually volunteering, do a lot of stuff, help others, right? And do a lot of fundraisers. So many things, people figured out many ways to help others using this digital format. And that's where I decided, okay, I'm going to do a workshop for kids and I'm going to raise some money and donate that money to the school district where they wanted to build the infrastructure to prepare for the online school. As you know, volunteering helps in a many positive way because you get engaged in a common mission. You work with other people who are basically facing the same issue. So it has kind of a very positive impact mentally on you and others. And basically, eventually it reduces the stress and increase the positive relaxed feeling by releasing the dopamine, which is a very scientific reason, but actually it helps a lot. And I have personally experienced that when I started volunteering and doing these kind of activities for kids. So to start with, my first case study, I conducted the virtual design thinking workshop for kids, which is obviously the high school students and middle school students, age of 10 to 15 years. And the time frame for this workshop was 4 weekends. The workshop was divided into 4 parts. First week was it was all about teaching them build empathy, identifying the problem. Though because of the timeline, I had a very short time, so I decided on the certain activities. We didn't go through the activity of identifying the need and then coming up with the design and prototype, but the task was decided. But the focus was like, how can you build empathy? The second week was about how you come up with the idea and build the workflows around it. Third week was all about exposing them to know what is good design, what is bad design, what's basically usable design means. And the fourth week it was a fun exercise. Fourth week, everyone was really enjoyed. And it was since last week of the workshop, I just wanted to make it more fun and not having like think about some serious issues and all that. So it was more like a brain gym exercise workshop for the fourth part. So I'm going to showcase like what all I did in these 4 weeks. And again, I say like this generation, so the age group which I picked, I think I feel passionate about teaching them because they are at the age where you can influence them with the right things, and they are our future. So we have a opportunity to build some of these leaders, helping us better our future, right? So that's the reason I chose this particular age group. Now, why design thinking? Particularly, I'm passionate about design thinking because the ability design thinking brings to solve the problem creatively. And this is something I felt it's not just for designers, but it's a life skill. No matter whether you are a designer or not, I think if you have these skills to solve problem creatively, think critically about something, I think no matter which industry you are working in, it is going to help you. And that's the reason I chose design thinking as a format to conduct this workshop. So what kids are going to gain if I use this format, my thinking was like they will understand how to build user empathy. It will help them create optimism. It will also help them when there is ambiguity, how you really deal with it, how to figure out things from that ambiguity. You learn by doing because it's all practical. It's not just theory, but you actually do things as you progress through the design thinking framework. You learn from failure. When you test your designs, you learn something is not working and then you try to fix it, and then you learn by doing that. You test and iterate. So you don't get stuck with your own designs. You don't feel attached to them, but you try to upgrade them, try to fix them based on the feedback you receive. And then it helps you to build creative confidence. So you realize, okay, I can think differently. I can solve problem creatively. So it kind of builds the creative confidence in you. And of course, very important skill, I think, is the effective collaboration, because nothing can be done without effective collaboration. So that's the best and fun part of design thinking. Now, you all know design thinking process. I will not spend a lot of time here, but it's basically going through empathy, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So we gone through these stages, and I'll show you some of the outcome of it, like how kids actually reacted to this, how they learned from this framework. So the first week was all about building empathy. The task was we had to design a mask, and the mask is supposed to be designed for their grandparents. So the grandparents, why we chose this particular audience, because grandparents, again, they are the one. We had many families where kids are, or families are here in US or some other countries, and parents are back in their own countries, say in India, in my case, or in other kids who are attending the workshop. So family who's living apart always has this fear, like how my parents are going to do in this particular situation, right? How can I help them? So going through the exercise, we always define the persona, right? Like who's the audience that we are going to serve. So we did an exercise of defining what's your grandparents' persona looks like. So how you talk about your granny, talk about your grandpa. And we did a very quick exercise. Capturing some of these details about their personality. And you can see this is again coming from the students. It's so nice to see like the way they captured all these tiny details. If you can read some of the details, we feel it's very difficult, but it's very simple, and kids thinks very clearly. That's what I always feel when I deal with them. They have no ambiguity in their head. As we grow, we create that ambiguity in our head. So they are very clear about the way they think, what they think. So they captured the persona very nicely. This is one of the example. So the kid talk about the granny. Her granny was a housewife, what she likes, who's there in the family, her personality characteristics, her hobbies. Similarly for grandpa. We also did an empathy mapping exercise. Again, I used the tool Miro for this. Another learning for kids is like dealing with some different tool, and they really had a blast with it. Like they haven't used Miro before that, so they really enjoyed interacting virtually with each other, putting post-it. So it was kind of a very fun exercise for them, and they were so engaged into this exercise. So they captured all these, like what their grandparents are feeling or thinking that time, what they are saying or what they are doing, what they are hearing from surrounding, right? Like they're what they are hearing from the news, what people are saying, and what they are seeing. So as you see some of the inputs here, like this is all coming from the students, like they captured some of the very important details during this exercise. They also captured the pain points, right? Like what are the pain points for their grandparents? So for example, very simple thing, when most of the old age people, they wear glasses. When you put mask, it gets foggy because of the breathing, which is a very simple but important problem, right? So they captured it very accurately. Um, Wearing mask is very uncomfortable. You can't imagine. Now we got used to it, but then wearing masks throughout the day, and it was so not clear at that time whether we have to wear mask all the time, we have to wear only you go out. So things were so unclear. So wearing mask all the time was not a very good choice, and no one preferred that. So the material should be very comfortable if you have to wear it full time, right? So they were thinking about the material, so they captured that problem. Also, masks were not easily available in bulk, right? Because everyone in the world were using masks. So the production was not at that level at that time. So they captured very important aspect during this interviews when they talked to their grandparents. What's the gain? There is always a positive side to everything. So when I'm sitting at home, I can't go out anywhere. I can always do something. So I can basically work on my hobbies. I can do certain things which maybe I left in between. So they were looking at it from that perspective. So some of these things, and out of this whole empathy mapping exercise, the themes came out is they want to focus on reusability aspect, personalization aspect, as well as the comfort of the mask. So these big themes came out of these empathy mapping exercise. Now teaching them, how do you really create the need statement? What do you really focus on? So this is the format I use. It focused on three aspects. One is, what is the problem? Who's your audience? Who's the population? And what's your goal? So these are two example couple of students came up with is, and again, which is mapping with the theme came from the whole empathy mapping exercise, is how can I reduce the expenditure on masks for the elderly population with no source of income to keep them safe from COVID-19. This is a simple statement for age 10 to age 15. They came up with this problem statement. So can you imagine what capability this age group has? The second one focuses more on the comfort of the mask, like how it should be comfortable, what kind of material it should be used. Older generation, they can be sensitive to the skin related issues, right? So how can I think of something, using something which is comfortable for their skin, and they can still use it for a longer period. So this is very powerful how kids can think if with a little bit of guidance. Now, idea to prototype. This is something after we captured everything about personas, we had a problem statement, we had empathy mapping. It's time to ideate and prototype. So kids came up with some of the ideas based on the theme we focused on. And as you see, there is a lot of personalization done in this because one of the kids said, like, my grandpa likes everything branded. So he tried to customize the mask with using his favorite brand logo on it. So they came up with a lot of fun ideas. One of the kids said, like, my grandpa always likes to eat. He's a foodie person. So he doesn't like the idea of using mask all the time because they were not sure if I can remove the mask while I'm eating something. So why not have a zipper to it? So when I just want to eat something, I'll just open the zipper and then I'll eat it. No idea is bad idea, as that's the rule of brainstorming. So these are some of the ideas kids came up with, and I'm just showing a couple of examples where one of the granny, actually, she used to stitch. So she actually came up with she stitched her grandson's mask, what he designed, and you can see her in action what she stitched. Here are some of the example of the idea and which actually turned into prototype. So you see, like, one of the grandpa said, like, likes to eat. He's a foodie person. So you see the zipper provided for that mask where he can just open the zip and eat and then zip it off again. Some very fun ideas, but some of these ideas, after a few months, I actually started seeing them in the market, which is amazing. And I wish I would have maybe extend this idea to the market. But yes, of course, like, that validates, like, these ideas were not invalid. This idea talks about, like, utilizing some of the stuff at home. So you see, like, the kid actually used the shoelaces, which were the person was not using it, so it was just lying around. The hosiery material, which you usually use with t-shirts and all that. So this is all used to customize and stitch the mask. How do you also provide the extra filters, right? So it had the pocket in the back where you can add the tissue paper as a filter in the mask. So you can see that on the back side of the mask, there is a pocket where you can insert filter, and you can see both the front side and back side of the mask with shoelace to tie it. So this is about mask design. This was the first week. Everyone really enjoyed it, and they were pumped up for the next week. Next week was all about how do you come up with the idea and preparing, like, design the flows. So we decided to design the mobile app and preparing for emergencies. So kids came up with multiple ideas and workflows, designing the mobile app. Some of them actually, very surprisingly, came up with the idea of using machine learning. They had no clue what is machine learning. But the concepts which they came up with, and again, we already did this exercise of persona and empathy mapping. So we kind of use some of the insights from there. But in this particular scenario, it was like it can be used by anyone. So the audience was little larger audience. So kids came up with the information architecture. So these are the concepts which they came up with without even telling them that this is called information architecture. They came up with, like, how they would launch the app, what all will be part of that application. So what are the necessities in emergency? They came up with some of the, you can see the basic categories, right? Like food, services, everyday needs, right? So you can see how clearly they could think what is important in emergencies, like what you look for. They came up, one of the kid actually came up with the idea of conversational UI. So it is more about, like, you ask question and the application will give you answer. So it's more of a chatbot kind of interface. So all these actually ideas came from this age group from 10 to 15, and without having any knowledge of, like, what is machine learning, what is AI, they came up with some of these really cool ideas. So this is something again, we came up with flows like designing, like how right from launching to using the application. Now, third week was about what is good design and bad design. So it's just about creating the awareness, what is usable design. In this exercise, what I did is I showed them lots of pictures of products and there was a discussion. So the format for this week was more of a discussion and talking about what they like about it, what is wrong with that design and why. So these are few examples here of some of the images that I showed them. So the first example is about the broom, and kids talk about it, like what's wrong with this, why it is not usable or whether it is usable. The favorite one was the third image in this. Which is very scary if you have packaging like this for the food stuff as well as insect killer. But this was, I think, kids' favorite example in all these exercise. And the fourth one. So when you design something for accessibility, you have to think a lot of aspects. So not having staircase when you are designing a restroom for accessible person, right? So the third week was more about creating this awareness, and end of this exercise, actually kids were very active. They had better knowledge on what is usability and what are the best products. So they also talked about the best product which they have seen. The fourth week was all about the fun exercise, how you can think creatively. There were a few different exercises I conducted. So the first exercise, what you see here, the post-it, I have given them the grid with multiple combinations. So something tall, something for a friend, something moving, something short, something which is fluffy, these kind of keywords. And then they had to choose 3 out of that grid, and they have to come up with something, some product which they pick the prompts for. And below you can see one kid actually picked these 3 prompts, something tall, something for a friend, and something moving. And he came up with the product. I won't call it like this is a aeroplane kind of product, but this is something which he can use to keep something secret gift or secret, say if I gift the necklace to my friend, he can keep it in this particular product. So he can open the top of this product and keep it, but at the same time it is shaped like an aeroplane. So it's not about like how realistic you think, but it's about how you think about the usability, how you use the prompt creatively and imagine something out of the box. So this exercise was all about that. Then the second exercise, what about, I have given them the shapes and I asked them to design something using that shape. So it can be anything. So one person, the shape was given circle. So one person came up with the insect like this, which is pretty cute. Then the third exercise was about alternate usage. So how can you use different products? What are the alternate usage of different products? So I showed them different pictures. So a couple of them were like brick and tire. So kids came up with multiple ideas, and I was amazed to see how different usage they could think of for tires. So right from for tire, right from the planter to using it as an umbrella, as a stairs, hula hoop, which is depends on which size of tire you use, but there are so many usage they came up with. For brick, someone said like I can use it as a weight, to a paper weight, right? So there are so many things. Then multiple solutions for one problem. Schools were shut that time, and schools has a huge space, right? So the problem was given to them: how can you repurpose closed school spaces? So kids came up with so many different ideas, like it can be used to deliver the food for people, for homeless, to ride bikes, because it's a bigger space, so you're not likely to bump onto each other. So there is a distance also you can keep, but at the same time you can play with each other, keeping the distance. Shelter for homeless, emergency treatment hospital, because that time hospitals were actually running full, and there was not enough space in hospitals. So they thought about lot of aspects, and you can see the empathy even in this particular exercise, like how they thought about different aspects, the issues society were facing at that time. And what students learn from this exercise is basically building empathy, understand user needs, and what to focus on, what is usable design, solving problem creatively and in fun way, and learning by doing and testing. So they learned with the mask exercise, they learned like to test also. They tested that with their grandparents, what is not working, and they fixed the problem. And they collaborated really well on these all exercises. So they really had a fun time. So this was the first case study. Second one I'm talking about is I'm part of this organization called Seva International, which is a huge organization in North America, across in globe. But I'm part of this particular USA organization where we have started the program called Design to Lead, which is a youth engagement program and targeted for the high school students. Again, this is a non-profit organization. The goal of this organization is basically going out and making difference in the community and help them where the needs are. So goal of this particular Design to Lead program is initiative is basically to provide all the high school students across North America the exposure to social exposure to the conscious leadership principles, using the design thinking methodology of Stanford design thinking method. So this is basically the program led by Dr. Anurag Mehral, who's the professor of medicine at Stanford University, and me, and there are a few more core members of this team who started along with Dr. Mehral a couple of years back. When we started, we had 7-member core member team, but now we have more than 20 actually. So it's we are teaching parents mentor who's part of this program. So we had a training to these parents, taught them this design thinking methodology, and now they are helping us scale this program and teach all these high school student design thinking. Again, the goal of this program is to create the future community leaders. As I said, like this audience is the one who's going to be defining future for us. So the goal is to prepare them, create the empathy, help them learn how can this help solve the issues and uplift community by solving the issues creatively. Now, the goal of Detail again is to learn innovation process to community needs by applying design thinking framework, identifying society's urgent and met needs, and develop potential solutions. And of course, help Seva deepens its roots through the impact. These are some of the issues which we are focusing on. Basically, women's hygiene among homeless. This is a really big issue currently everyone is facing, and we are trying to help. Food waste in schools cafeteria. So one recent example which I have seen, again, the outcome of DTL or design to lead, what we call. The student from this program started the volunteer-based organization called Sandwich Project. And it's committed to stop food waste in the Bay Area. He started this program basically, and he was able to recover for around 50 pounds of food that was headed for the trash. So he basically worked with the bakeries and grocery stores where the material like delicious breads and pastries, which is basically they are going to throw it, but it is good quality. But because of they can't keep it, stores needs to throw it. He recovered those. And he actually used that bread, which is in a good quality, use that breads to make sandwiches and give those sandwiches packs to the people who are homeless. So he reached out to them. He worked with Seva volunteers to deliver those to people who in need. So this is the outcome, one of the outcome from like the program that we have. We teach them come up with the issues, identify issues, and come up with the solutions for that through the methodical way of design thinking. Mental health issue is one of the very popular issue. Everyone actually, a lot of teams are working on it and coming up with very interesting problem solving ideas. So I'll talk about that. These are few examples. There are so many projects that we are doing, but these are few examples which actually the outcome of this design thinking, design to lead program. I'll talk about one here is Basket of Joy is the project which actually started as an idea. Students came up with the problem where the targeted audience is kids who are suffering through some illness, and they have to deal with the overall journey with the hospital. So they had to either hospitalize for a longer time, and that whole process of hospitalization, staying in hospital, going through the medication is pretty painful for kids as well as their parents. So students came up with that, with the idea, like how can we provide some joy to these kids and family by providing them something fun, something useful. So the idea of Basket of Joy came finalized. As we finalized the idea, kids also thought about a lot of aspects of how can they implement this idea. So Seva helped actually these kids collaborate with the hospitals. And also there were donation drives conducted to get the food or some candies or even toys, some educational material, all the stuff which actually then packed as a basket, as a gift. And all these packets are delivered to the actually hospitals where Seva helped these students collaborate. So this is about coming up with the idea and helping these students. So if you see the journey, they identified the problem, they identified the audience, they came up with the overall ecosystem, how to implement the idea, and they actually implement the idea. So they completed the whole cycle of creating a product or service. And thanks to Seva for helping them doing all this and staying with them throughout this journey. So these are few examples and few projects. Now, what's the impact of this particular design to lead program? So as I said, like we started this in 2021. The first batch we had was around 150 students. We had parents also who joined as a mentor. We had around 50 mentors who we actually trained them. We had core team members, 7. We had topics which we identified along with students is 24. Youth team across North America were 25. And the chapters in North America were 5. In 2022, this year, we have over 167 students join this mission or this program. We had we are having over 68 parents, student mentors who's helping the students who joined new this year. We have 27 core member teams now who's helping expand these operations of this program. There are over 36 issues identified and the topics students are working on. There are over 40 teams we have. So see the scale, the way we scaled up. And now there are 11 chapters across North America. So it has a huge impact and it's scaling very rapidly. We have over 100 experts, community stakeholders, and advisors engaged in this program. Every week or every other week, we actually invite someone who basically provides some lightning talks to the students, share their knowledge, or also help in their projects. So it's a complete ecosystem we are building and to build these future leaders. And this is all about design to lead, and design thinking is the core of this program. So you can see how effectively we can use design thinking as a framework to help our community. What students are learning from design thinking is basically lead with empathy. So as you see here, we are building all these leadership skills, which are very important. I feel not everyone can lead, but it is about someone taking leadership, but someone also supporting that leadership and working with them. So it has a very nice dynamics when we create these teams. Understand the social needs, what's really required, identify and help in these areas, learn to develop and implement those ideas. So, kids basically go through the complete cycle. And then it also helps develop critical and creative thinking, solving the problem. And as we saw in the earlier case study, learn by doing, that's the best learning. And then effectively collaborate. So wherever possible, now we are meeting in person. There are no challenges with that. So we try to meet every chapter. We try to meet in person once in a while when we want to ideate on some of the projects. So this is about this design to lead program. Now, third case study I want to talk about as an individual designer, what you can achieve. So I want to talk about this particular podcast, and I have added these QR codes. Feel free to scan and visit these programs, these podcasts, and all these people. Nodes of Design is basically the brainchild of designer Tej, who's like designer like us. But he has a vision to help people who are creative and they want to explore their career in design, or they want to grow their career in design. And he had a simple goal. I just want to spread the knowledge. I want to, by building this podcast, I want to help people learn more, grow in their career. So a designer like us, he started this podcast a couple of years back. And now it's over. I think he has almost done 87 so far. So just few more to go. He has a goal to complete 100 podcasts. So he will have a library of 100 episodes, and each one of them, the questions are curated by audience. So people reach out to him with a question. So he used the questions which are most relevant to the audience and use the questions to basically design those interviews. So that's why the format is very interesting. The solution, the inputs each interviewer is giving is very helpful and very relevant to each of the audience. And you can see there are different disciplines you can learn about. So right from product design, graphic design, industrial design, calligraphy, typography, even so many design disciplines that he covered in this particular podcast. So definitely a single person can achieve a lot if you decide to. The impact I just want to share, and the reason I'm sharing this case study is its leadership is not about title. It's about like what you feel, what drives you, and what's your goal, right? How you want to utilize your skill, your knowledge. So look at the impact and reach of this particular podcast. So he started this in 2019. Over 80 episodes are already done. It's trending in 40 plus countries. It's #1 in Apple Podcast. It's 19th on the bestseller list. It's streaming on 16 platforms. It's into top 5% of global rank, and it's already reached 101 countries. And this is all non-profit effort. So this requires a passion, doing something like this. So I guess the reason I wanted to show this case study is a designer can expand a role in a very different way. Just identify what you are really passionate about. The fourth case study is, I think many of you might be aware of this. If not, definitely do visit this. So the story about two people, one of them is a designer, Felix and James. So Felix is a designer, product designer. He started, both of them started 2 years ago, an Excel sheet with the list of people who, the goal was to help people find the job, because so many layoffs were happening. People were struggling because of the pandemic. So the simple goal was help people to find the job. And that one single Excel sheet, which started 2 years back, has now a platform called ADP List, which crossed over 8,000 mentors worldwide, which is something I feel very, if you look at it, it feels very unreal. Like a person, James is an engineer, he's from a technical background. Felix is from a design background. He's an engineer turned into product designer. So I think it's amazing what individual can achieve and how they use, how they identified the need and expanded the skill. So design mentoring is something which is pretty much needed. So I mentor on this particular platform. So many people reach out to me and they learn from our failures also. They learn from what we gained in the experience. So this is such a beautiful thing. Like you have a platform where you can speed up the process of progress in your career. And I think both of them are giving this platform to the larger audience. The simple mission they started with to give every person the freedom to grow. And they are doing this by enabling this platform of mentorship to everyone. Now the impact of this, it started, it founded in 2021. Over 5 million of minutes mentorship sessions has already done. 16,000 sessions monthly happens. It is, you see the audience, it is over 141 people coming from different countries. 37 languages are spoken, so you have an ability to speak to someone or get mentored from someone who speak your own language, which has a very different connection, right? Sometimes you have a language barrier, and in that case, nothing is stopping you to get mentored. You always find someone who can talk to you in your own language. There are over 4,000 mentors, 20,000 plus mentees on this platform. Over 5,000 sessions are booked per month, and over 200 events across worldwide. So this is the scale in 2 years, which these two people achieved just by starting the Excel sheet. And this is the basically pictures. These are the pictures capturing the essence of it. There are events happening in India, in other country, US. You can see the spirit of it, spirit of unity and spirit of all the designers coming together. So I would say, I think it's about the goal, how you want to use your skill and how you want to help other designers. So with this, I would say, I think it's about taking the lead, be the change that you wish to see in the world. This is one of my favorite quote of Mahatma Gandhi. So don't wait. If you feel really passionate about something, just do it. Just start doing it. And I'm sure people will join you in that mission. Yeah. So with that, I hand it over to you, Elizabeth.
Okay, well, there's a lot here. This is really inspiring. I know I put a few things in the chat, and other people have done that also. I mean, I obviously understand and like to promote people volunteering to help make the world better, particularly kids. But I have a bunch of questions, but before I jump in, I'd like to open the floor to anyone else. And then if you haven't asked a question I have, then at the end, I'll go. So I do see a couple of questions. Maybe just to answer one quick question right now, Ria, it's some folks missed the name of the group from the first case study. So the question was, is it SEWA? I don't know if I pronounced that right. SEWA design.
It's SEWA, yeah. I will let me go back to that link. So you guys can scan the QR code.
Right. Oh, scan the QR code. Do that. And if you have a question, either put it in the chat or raise your hand. And then we can, I'll call on you. Thank you for that. Also, Ankit, being one of the people in that generation. Sheer coincidence, but since I don't see a question right off the bat, sheer coincidence, we've had this wonderful the youngest intern we've ever had has done some amazing work, and it's just great. Ankit is illustrating what Ria has been talking about just by being with all this. It's really
exactly.
I get goosebumps. Does anyone have questions or comments? I mean, I have a list, but I'd rather open the floor to others. You could raise your hand, you could jump in, you could chat. The floor is open if anyone wants to ask questions. Okay. You can also put them in the chat. I will start, and then, feel free to jump in. First of all, I found it super moving, and I know this is the second time I've heard this material. But it's even more moving to me the second time to think about our work as creating optimism. Really almost brings me to tears, just because we need more optimism, right? And I do feel like design thinking and user-centered design is all about, making the world better for humans. So I see that. But you brought it up a couple times, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about your thinking about how this work, particularly in children, but also in everyone. And I'm sorry, not children, they're young adults.
Young adult, yeah.
Yeah, definitely not, I wouldn't call like children. But I'd like to hear more about how you see this creating optimism.
So, see, as I said, like, first of all, the creative aspect of it, right? And the feeling of you are helping something to solve. I
Right.
think that itself creates the connection with the cause that you are helping with. And I guess that's the positivity which helps you even with the mental health. And that's the reason actually you see the increase in last 2-3 years, right? In the volunteering, especially a lot of kids actually were encouraged to do volunteering because especially kids or the high school students, they suffered a lot with the mental health because they could not meet the friends, they could not talk to people out of their family. Of course, like chatting on a social media or chatting on a different chats and all, that's a different thing. But having a human connection, right, or human one-on-ones is something very different. So the whole notion of like helping someone, you are not the only one, we all are in it together, kind of a feeling is something creates the huge connection between the cause, how you feel about it, and the satisfaction that you get. And I guess design thinking, as I said, like it's not only for designers, but it's a framework which can be utilized by anyone. So I guess that's one of the best method I felt as a designer. I can donate to society to maybe expand or scale the impact of it for better.
I just love that because I see it not just for kids. I mean, I think until you named it that, I actually think I've been doing it because of that reason. I just didn't connect the dots because for me, it's sort of a survival instinct.
Yes,
I
yes.
feel frustrated. I want the world to be better. I do this and then I do
Yeah.
feel better. But I think having you name that it also creates optimism,
Yeah.
that's huge. I love that because I never thought of it that way. So I just think it's really powerful and I'll probably use that. I will give you credit for coming up with that. It's such a powerful takeaway. I see a couple questions in the chat, so I'm gonna go to those and then I'll come
Sure.
back. But we have one that says that wonders if kids are feeling frustrated while doing these activities because it needs a lot of cognitive load to develop the idea. I don't know if you've thought about that. And I don't know if Venkatesh is still on. I don't think so, but still, let's see if we can answer that question.
So yes, design thinking, it is an intense activity, but it is also, and that's the reason, if you remember, I talked about like I have not gone through the process of identifying the need, because that itself is a huge part of design thinking, right? Because the way I have conducted this workshop was over the weekend, and it was conducted for around a couple of hours, because more than that, you can't have attention for of these age group kids, right? Because they can get little annoyed or they can get little restless after like you put so much cognitive load on them. So it was around 2 hours. I have already identified like what we want to do. And the way I actually, we did it more like a storytelling format. Like, so we started with, okay, talk about your grandparents, so they got engaged into their own world and also talking about sharing the insights about their parents and grandparents. So it is also about how you conduct it with kids.
Right.
Make it fun for them.
Right.
Because they will be only engaged if they find it interesting.
Right. Right.
The one interesting feedback I got after the second week, when we did the emergency app for emergency, I asked kids for the feedback, like, what do you think didn't work in this week workshop, or maybe you would have changed it. So one girl said, like, I wish we have taken some other subject instead of designing something for emergency, because I'm already feeling stressed with so many issues going around us. So I don't want to think about something negative, which is a very interesting perspective, which I didn't think about it, how kids must be thinking like that. But that was a very good insight I got from, and she was 10-year-old. So the beauty of getting feedback.
Well, yeah, and also, just thinking about the experience of growing up now and what it was like for all of us. And I don't mean technology, but yes, also,
Yeah.
but like what you're talking about there's just so many causes now. There's so many,
Yeah.
things, and
Yeah.
it's almost like a worldview to develop it young and to,
Yeah.
super powerful. So now we have another question. This is from Jonathan Bate Aron about the alternate uses. That was part of the initial design. He was wondering if it was something that came in the beginning or whether it was post-release tracking. And I see, yeah, Jonathan's still on. So why don't you answer? But if you have more questions, Jonathan, you can pipe in. Go ahead.
So if Jonathan, maybe you might want to clarify this. Are you asking at what stage we did this exercise, or?
I don't know if he's right there. I guess the question.
Yeah, just a second.
ahead.
Had to find the unmute button.
You didn't expect me to ask you to go.
Yeah. So I think it was in the context of tire and brick. You were looking at alternate uses, but in general, in design, a lot of the times when we finish the production, whatever it is we created is used for alternate purposes. I remember when Google search first came out, people started playing at finding 2-word combinations that will yield only one site. And that was a wonderful game, but it was not what Google was designed for. So in general, I'm thinking of, in the design process, is there a systematic method of anticipating alternate uses, encouraging alternate uses, and anticipating alternate uses can be both positive and negative. Yes. You don't want a fork to fit in the electrical plug, right? There are things that you want to avoid in your general design methodology.
Yes.
So and then there is always the tracking. If you actually bring your design into fruition, you may want to track alternate uses in order to learn from it.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not in.
So
I'm
it's
not
a very good
yet.
point.
I'm just interested.
No, very good point, Jonathan. And actually, that's the reason. Before this activity, I did this in 4th week. But the exercise which I did earlier week, it was about exposing these students to the usability, understanding what is usable, what is not. And then the next week I did this exercise. So by that time, they already had idea about what is usable design or design means. So when we talk about alternate usage, it is also about whether it's usable or not, right? What's the impact of it? right? Whether it fits into the right scenario, that solution. But the goal was in that exercise just to think in the multiple ways, to give them perspective, like there are always more than one way to think about one problem. Now, which solution fits into that particular suits for that particular problem is something where you have to think more from the usability perspective, more from the context perspective, right? For example, when we design interactions, we design like one interaction can be designed multiple ways. But then we choose only one interaction, which either suits that particular technology we are using, the context that fits in, right? And there are multiple these parameters that we check on. So similarly, yeah, definitely I thought about that. And that was the reason first I exposed them to what is usable design means, and then talking about the alternate usages. I hope it answers your question.
It was a good question.
Thank you. Yes, it will.
Great. So I just had a couple more questions, and if anyone else has questions, you can throw them in the chat or raise your hand. But I'm curious to know, in the SEWA project, SEWA, is that how you pronounce it? S-E-W?
SEWA, yeah.
SEWA, okay. So you talked about integrating the parents, and I'm wondering how you did that, if you had challenges or if it was easy, and also if any of the parents were in the field. I'm always curious about that.
So, of course, the person, Dr. Anurag Mehral, who's leading it, he himself is basically the trained person and who's actually started this whole program, right? And then I joined, and along with me, there are actually a few other core members who are from the similar industry, product industry. So they are into either product management, or some of them have done actually Stanford design thinking program. So few of them are, yes, aligned with, they know what is design thinking is. Some of them actually, we actually trained them, and it is more like you learn on the job.
Okay.
So first year, Dr. Anurag Mehral actually trained the core team while we were working with them. And of course, because I'm from that background, I was aware of it. But all the other team members, like everyone got trained while we were working on it.
Okay.
Similarly, now we had to scale. So obviously we have to scale on the mentors level also, because we have so many teams. So it's impossible for us to, and every Sunday we have a couple of hours call for this program.
Right.
So it's basically train the trainer. So we trained the mentors, parent mentors who they reached out to us. If they are interested, they reached out to us that they want to be part of this mentors group. And then we did one session, actually couple of sessions to train these people, going through the design process, teaching them what is it, how to look for suggestions, what to suggest, all that stuff. And of course, all the parents are, many of them are from product industry, service industry, so they can relate and very quickly learn from this process. So it was not very difficult.
That's great. Yeah, right. I assumed because you're in California.
Yes.
I assumed that most parents.
But this is not just California, this is
Right.
across America. So
Right. Yeah.
it's mix of industries. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you have two codes, QR codes up, and are those to get involved, or those to find you, right? Those are to find you.
That's to find me. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so if people have questions or something, that's a way to find you. And then if they want to get involved or something like that.
Yeah.
So I just want to, I mean, I don't have any more questions, but I want to end just by saying how inspiring this is. And I love the Gandhi quote. I mean, I also like the other quotes, but just thinking about how a single person can change the world. I mean, that's always been sort of something that I was raised with. And I think, you know, just that you're putting this out, and especially also for kids, and sort of not just for them, but as a message. To me, that's part of that is what World Usability Day is about. So
Yeah.
wonderful having you here, and to share that kind of energy. So I just appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And
Yeah,
everyone on the team.
it's just wonderful. And I think it doesn't look like we have questions, but I will be posting this later today or tomorrow, and I'll send out, I have everyone's email address, and I'll send it out and send you. And so I think that's it. I'm just super inspired, and I needed that today. So thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks for attending.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very inspiring, Ria. Thank you. And I'm sure many of us are motivated to be more involved in the groups and, you know, yeah, be a
I'm
part of
happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, especially now, there seems to be a little dip in well, I'll just speak for the world I see around me, a little bit of a dip in energy. I think, you know, it's been going on for a long time. And so
Yeah.
it's just messages like yours, just what I needed today. So I really can't say that enough, but anyway. And it looks like we're getting a lot of thank yous and appreciations in the chat. So thank you everyone for attending. And for those of you guys still on, thank you for staying through the questions and answers. And have a good, I guess, rest of your day or night, depending on where you are. But thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.